The massive screens in the Imperial High Council chamber showed a small blue planet spinning slowly in space. Around the oval table, 12 council members from different species watched with mild interest, their expressions ranging from boredom to slight curiosity. None of them knew they were about to make the biggest mistake in the Empire's 10,000-year history. "Another primitive world," said first Speaker Wells, his gray skin reflecting the blue light from the screens. "Their technology level barely registers on our scales." Commander Reed stood quietly in the shadows of the chamber, watching the council members dismiss humanity with casual waves of their hands and tentacles. His job as an intelligence officer was to observe and report, not to speak. But something about the energy readings from Earth made his scales itch with worry. "They have only managed to colonize their own moon and Mars," said third Speaker Morgan, checking the data streams floating in front of her. "Their fastest ships would take years to reach even their closest neighboring star." The council members nodded in agreement. The Empire ruled over 1,000 species across 10,000 worlds. They had seen countless civilizations rise and fall. This one seemed no different. But Commander Reed noticed something the others missed. The energy signatures from Earth didn't match their visible technology. It was subtle, easy to overlook if you weren't looking for it. The power output from their cities was too clean, too efficient for their supposed level of development. "Shall we proceed with standard conquest protocols?" asked Second Speaker Brown, already reaching for the command panel to authorize the invasion fleet. Reed couldn't stay quiet any longer. "Honorable speakers," he said, stepping forward. The council members turned to look at him, surprised by the interruption. "I believe we should conduct more thorough scans before proceeding." First Speaker Wells frowned. "Explain yourself, Commander." "The energy readings from their world show inconsistencies," Reed said, bringing up his own data displays. "Their visible technology suggests a level 2 civilization, but their power signatures." He highlighted several graphs showing energy fluctuations across Earth's surface. "What about them?" Third Speaker Morgan asked, leaning forward slightly. "They're too perfect," Reed explained. "No level 2 civilization has ever achieved such efficient energy distribution. Even we haven't managed it across all our worlds." Second Speaker Brown laughed, a harsh sound that echoed in the chamber. "Are you suggesting these primitives have technology that rivals the Empire? They still burn fossil fuels in some regions." Reed felt his scales flatten against his neck in frustration. "I'm suggesting we don't know enough about them. Their development pattern is unusual." "Enough," First Speaker Wells said, raising a hand. "Commander Reed, your concern is noted. But we have conquered worlds far more advanced than Earth. The Empire has never lost a war in 10,000 years." The council members nodded in agreement, their decision already made. Reed watched as they authorized the deployment of a standard subjugation fleet, 100 warships, more than enough to handle a level 2 civilization. As the council members filed out of the chamber, Reed stayed behind, studying the slowly rotating image of Earth. Something about this world felt different. The humans' technology didn't follow the normal development patterns. Most species focused on faster ships, bigger weapons, stronger shields. But the humans, they seemed to be developing in all directions at once, but keeping their most advanced technology hidden. Reed downloaded all the scanned data to his personal device. He would continue studying these humans, even if the council wouldn't listen. As he walked through the massive halls of the Imperial Palace, he couldn't shake the feeling that the Empire was about to learn a harsh lesson about underestimating unknown species. In the darkness of space, the Imperial subjugation fleet began to assemble. 100 of the Empire's finest warships, each capable of destroying a continent, prepared to jump to the Sol system. They expected an easy victory, a quick surrender, and another world added to the Empire's glory. They had no idea they were about to start a war that would change the galaxy forever. The Imperial fleet appeared at the edge of the Sol system in a brilliant flash of light. 100 warships, their black hulls gleaming in the distant sunlight, moved forward with perfect military precision. Fleet Commander Jones watched Earth grow larger on his view screen, already planning where to place the Empire's victory monument. "Send the standard surrender message," he ordered, his tentacles moving gracefully over the control panel. "Give them 24 hours to respond, as per protocol." The message went out in all Earth languages: surrender or face destruction. The Empire had sent this same message to 1,000 worlds before. None had ever refused. But Earth didn't respond as expected. Instead of panic or quick surrender, there was silence. Complete silence. No radio signals, no communications, no signs of fear. The entire planet went quiet. "Sir," said Lieutenant Smith, her scales changing color with concern, "we're detecting no attempts at evacuation, no military mobilization, no signs of panic in their population centers." Commander Jones moved closer to the main screen, his confidence wavering slightly. Every other civilization had shown some reaction to the Empire's arrival. But the humans simply went about their business, as if 100 planet-killing warships weren't hovering over their world. "Launch probe drones," Jones ordered. "I want detailed scans of their military capabilities." The drones shot out from the Imperial ships, spreading across Earth's orbit. But as they approached the planet's atmosphere, something strange happened. One by one, they went dark. "Sir," Lieutenant Smith called out, her voice rising, "we've lost contact with all probe drones." Before Jones could respond, new signals appeared on their screens. From the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, hundreds of previously undetected platforms emerged from hiding. They had been waiting, perfectly camouflaged against the rocks. "Impossible," Jones whispered. "The Empire's scanners were the best in the galaxy. Nothing could hide from them. Yet somehow, the humans had managed it." A new message appeared on every screen in the Imperial fleet. It was short and simple. "Leave now." Jones laughed, but the sound was nervous. "They dare threaten us. Launch the first wave of fighters. Show them what happens to worlds that resist the Empire." 5,000 fighter craft poured out of the Imperial ships, their weapons charged and ready. They moved in perfect formation toward Earth, ready to begin the standard subjugation procedure. That's when everything went wrong. The human platforms in the asteroid belt activated, but instead of launching missiles or energy weapons, they released clouds of what looked like metallic dust. The Imperial fighters flew straight into these clouds, their pilots laughing at such a primitive defense. The laughter stopped when their ships began to fall apart. "Nanites," screamed a pilot over the command channel. "They're eating through our hulls." Jones watched in horror as his first wave of fighters disintegrated into clouds of useless metal. The humans had developed weapons that could take apart ships at the molecular level, bypassing shields completely. But the humans weren't finished. A second wave of platforms activated, sending out pulses of energy that the Imperial ships had never encountered before. Ship after ship lost power, their supposedly unhackable computer systems taken over by human AI warfare systems. "Full retreat," Jones ordered, panic clear in his voice. "Jump to light speed immediately." But even their escape wasn't simple. As the Imperial ships engaged their faster-than-light drives, many found their navigation systems compromised. Instead of jumping to safety, dozens of ships appeared in random locations throughout the solar system, easy targets for the human weapons. In the Imperial Palace, Commander Reed watched the disaster unfold through secure channels. He had expected something like this, but even he was surprised by the humans' level of preparation. They hadn't just developed defenses against the Empire. They had created entirely new types of weapons specifically designed to counter Imperial technology. As the surviving Imperial ships limped away from Earth, a final message went out from the human defenders. This was a warning. There won't be a second one. The Empire had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years, but in just one day, everything had changed. The humans weren't trying to win a battle. They were showing the galaxy that the Empire could be beaten. And this was only the beginning. The Imperial High Council chamber was in chaos. The massive screens showed the remains of their defeated fleet scattered across Earth's solar system. Of the 100 ships sent to subjugate the humans, only 38 had returned, and most of those were badly damaged. Impossible. First Speaker Wells slammed his fist on the table, making the holographic displays flicker. No Level 2 civilization could defeat our ships. They must have had help. Commander Reed stood in his usual spot in the shadows, watching the council members struggle to accept reality. Their perfect record of conquests, stretching back 10,000 years, had been broken by a species they had dismissed as primitive. The data is clear, Third Speaker Morgan said, her voice shaking. The humans used weapons we've never seen before. Nanite swarms that ignored our shields. Computer viruses that broke through our best defenses. They knew exactly how to hurt us. But how? Second Speaker Brown demanded. How did they hide their true technology level from our scans? Reed stepped forward, unable to stay quiet. They didn't hide it, he said. We just didn't look properly. We saw what we expected to see. A young species still learning to reach the stars. But the humans were developing in ways we never considered. The council members turned to him, some angry, others frightened. Reed activated his data pad, projecting new information into the air. Look at their development pattern, he continued. While we focused on bigger ships and stronger shields, they created microscopic machines that could take apart our vessels piece by piece. While we built better weapons, they developed ways to turn our own technology against us. Are you suggesting they planned for this? First Speaker Wells asked, his anger turning to worry. Yes, Reed said simply. Everything about their response suggests long-term preparation. The hidden platforms in the asteroid belt, the specific counters to our technology. They knew we were coming. Maybe not when, but they knew we existed, and they got ready. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The humans hadn't just gotten lucky. They had been preparing for this moment, possibly for generations. In another part of the palace, Fleet Commander Jones sat in a medical chamber, his tentacles still shaking from the battle. The doctors said it was shock, but he knew it was fear. He couldn't forget what he had seen. Tell us again, said the military investigator, recording every word. About their weapons. They were waiting for us, Jones said, his voice hollow. The nanites, they weren't just weapons. They were intelligent. They targeted specific systems, ignored others, like they knew exactly how our ships were built. That's not possible, the investigator said. Our ship designs are secret. The humans didn't care about our secrets, Jones replied. They found ways around them. And their cyber warfare. They didn't just hack our systems. They spoke to them, convinced them to turn against us. Our own computers helped them defeat us. In his private office, Commander Reed was doing something dangerous. He had accessed restricted data channels, looking for any information about Earth that the Empire might have missed. What he found shocked him. Small stories, scattered across centuries. Strange disappearances of Imperial scout ships near Earth's sector. Unexplained equipment failures. Unusual energy readings that were ignored or dismissed. The humans had been studying the Empire for far longer than anyone had realized. A message flashed across his screen. More ships were gathering. The Empire was preparing a proper invasion fleet. 10,000 warships, enough to crush any resistance. The Council was determined to prove that their first defeat was just a fluke. Reed looked at the slowly rotating image of Earth on his screen. The humans had revealed only a fraction of their capabilities. He was sure of it. Their first victory hadn't been about destroying the Imperial fleet. It had been a message. We are ready for you. We know how to beat you. Run. But the Empire wouldn't run. They would attack again with overwhelming force. And Reed had a terrible feeling that they were about to learn just how prepared humanity really was. 10,000 Imperial warships filled the space around Earth's solar system. They appeared in waves, their black hulls blocking out the stars. This was the largest fleet the Empire had ever assembled. No civilization had ever survived such an attack. High Admiral Wilson stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching his fleet take position. His orders were simple: crush the humans completely. Show the galaxy why the Empire had ruled for 10,000 years. All ships report ready, his second-in-command announced. Waiting for your order to attack. Wilson smiled. The humans had caught them by surprise once. It wouldn't happen again. Begin the assault, he ordered. Full power to shields. Launch all fighters. 50,000 Imperial fighters poured out of the warships. Behind them, the capital ships charged their main weapons. The combined firepower could crack a planet in half. But Earth didn't wait for the attack to reach them. As soon as the Imperial fleet appeared, the humans struck first. Thousands of small objects shot out from Earth's direction. The Imperial sensors identified them as simple missiles, nothing that could harm their shields. Wilson almost laughed. Were the humans really trying to fight the Empire's greatest fleet with ordinary rockets? Then the missiles split apart. Each one released millions of tiny machines, smaller than dust. The nanite swarms were hundreds of times larger than in the first battle. Raise all shields, Wilson shouted, but it was already too late. The nanites didn't just destroy ships this time. They transformed them. Imperial fighters turned against their own fleet. Capital ships fired on each other. The humans had found a way to reprogram the nanites, turning the Empire's machines into their own weapons. "Sir," an officer shouted, "we're detecting energy buildup from Earth's moon." The lunar surface cracked open, revealing massive cannons hidden beneath the gray dust. They fired strange energy beams that passed through Imperial shields like they didn't exist. Dozens of capital ships exploded as the beams hit their power cores. Wilson stared in horror as his fleet fell into chaos. "Launch the planet killer missiles," he ordered. "End this now." 500 planet killer missiles launched from the Imperial ships. Each one could destroy a continent. Together, they could turn Earth into dust. But they never reached their target. Small black dots appeared in space around Earth. Artificial wormholes. The missiles flew into them and vanished. Seconds later, new wormholes opened near Imperial worlds. The Empire's own weapons emerged, now aimed at their colonies. "How?" Wilson whispered. "How did they master wormhole technology? Even we can't control them so precisely." More surprises awaited. Ships began appearing out of nowhere around his fleet. Human warships, hidden behind some kind of cloaking technology the Empire's sensors couldn't detect. They were smaller than Imperial vessels, but incredibly fast, firing weapons that seemed to ignore the laws of physics. On his private command channel, Wilson received a transmission from Earth. A simple text message appeared on his screen. "We tried to warn you. Now watch carefully." Suddenly, every Imperial ship in the fleet lost power. No weapons, no shields, no engines. They just floated in space, helpless. "It's impossible," Wilson said, staring at his dead controls. "Our systems are isolated. Nothing can shut them all down at once." But the humans had found a way. They had developed quantum-entangled computer viruses that could spread instantly across any distance, infecting every Imperial system simultaneously. In the Imperial Palace, Commander Reed watched the disaster unfold. The Empire had sent its greatest fleet to crush humanity. Instead, the humans had revealed even more advanced technology. They hadn't just prepared for war with the Empire. They had revolutionized warfare itself. The human fleet moved through the disabled Imperial ships, not destroying them, but attaching small devices to their hulls. When power returned, the Empire would find that their finest warships now belonged to Earth. The message was clear. The Empire wasn't fighting a primitive species. They were fighting an enemy that had spent centuries preparing for this moment. And this was still just the beginning of humanity's response. News of the Empire's second defeat spread across the galaxy like wildfire. On 1,000 worlds, beings of all species watched footage of Earth's victory. They saw Imperial warships turned to dust by invisible machines. They watched the Empire's greatest fleet float helpless in space, defeated by human technology. Most importantly, they saw hope. On the desert world of Outland, Crowds gathered in the streets. After 5,000 years of imperial rule, someone had finally beaten their masters. The locals raised their voices in celebration, no longer afraid of imperial police. "If humans can beat them, so can we," shouted protesters, waving banners showing Earth's blue sphere. Similar scenes played out across hundreds of worlds. Every species that had ever been conquered by the Empire suddenly saw a chance for freedom. In his private office in the Imperial Palace, Commander Reed worked through the night, piecing together a disturbing puzzle. He had finally gained access to ultra-classified records from Earth's sector, and what he found changed everything. "They knew," he whispered to himself, reading the ancient reports. "Humans knew about us centuries ago." The evidence was clear. 800 years ago, an Imperial scout ship had crashed on Earth's moon. Instead of revealing themselves, humans had hidden the wreck. They studied it in secret, learning about Imperial technology. More Imperial ships had disappeared near Earth over the centuries, not by accident, Reed now realized, but carefully captured for study. The humans were never primitive, Reed said, adding more data to his files. They were just careful, patient. They waited until they were ready. Meanwhile, in the High Council chamber, panic was spreading. Reports came in from across the Empire. 6 colony worlds had declared independence. 12 more were in open revolt. The Empire's oldest enemies were moving their fleets, sensing weakness. "We must crush these rebellions immediately." First Speaker Wells shouted, his scales dark with rage. "Send the remaining fleets." "What remaining fleets?" Third Speaker Morgan interrupted. "Half our ships are destroyed. Another quarter are disabled or captured by the humans. And the rest?" She gestured to a tactical display, showing hundreds of Imperial warships refusing to leave their ports. "The crews are afraid," Second Speaker Brown said quietly. "They've seen what happened to our other fleets. No one wants to fight the humans now." More reports flooded in. Imperial governors were fleeing their worlds as local rebellions grew. The humans had shown the galaxy that the Empire wasn't invincible. Centuries of fear were turning into anger. But the worst news came from the Empire's research division. Their scientists had finally analyzed the human weapons and made a shocking discovery. "They didn't copy our technology," the head scientist reported, his voice shaking. "They developed everything from scratch. Different principles, different methods. That's why our defenses didn't work. They were designed to stop Imperial weapons, not whatever the humans built." Commander Reed added this to his growing file of revelations. Humans hadn't just prepared for war with the Empire. They had deliberately developed technology that worked in completely different ways. They had spent centuries building weapons and defenses that would bypass every Imperial system. And now, they were sharing their knowledge with others. Reports showed human ships appearing near rebellious worlds, offering protection from Imperial retaliation. Human technicians were teaching other species how to defend themselves. This was their plan all along, Reed realized. They didn't just want to defeat our fleet. They wanted to break the Empire's power completely. In the streets of 1,000 worlds, revolution spread. The Empire had ruled through fear for 10,000 years. But humans had shown the galaxy something more powerful than fear, hope. And for the first time in 10,000 years, the Empire didn't know how to respond. The Imperial Palace shook as explosions lit up the night sky. Outside, protesters filled the streets of the capital world, demanding an end to Imperial rule. The Empire's police tried to maintain control, but their weapons suddenly stopped working. Human technology at work again. Inside the palace, the High Council met in emergency session. The massive screen showed a galaxy in chaos. A quarter of Imperial worlds had already declared independence. Another third were in open rebellion. The Empire's mighty fleets sat useless in their ports, crews too afraid to face human weapons. "We still have the planet killers," First Speaker Wells said desperately. "We could threaten to destroy rebel worlds." The screen suddenly went dark. When they came back on, they showed a simple message from Earth. We wouldn't do that if we were you. Seconds later, alarms screamed across the capital. Every weapon in the Imperial arsenal, from handheld blasters to massive planet-killer missiles, stopped working at once. Somehow, the humans had found a way to disable Imperial technology across thousands of light-years instantly. Impossible, Second Speaker Brown shouted. Nothing can reach across space that fast. Commander Reed stepped out of the shadows, finally ready to reveal what he had discovered. The humans found a way, he said, walking to the center of the chamber. They developed quantum-linked computers centuries ago. They've been watching us, studying us, preparing for this moment for hundreds of years. What do you mean, preparing? Third Speaker Morgan asked, her voice shaking. Reed activated his data pad, projecting images into the air. 800 years ago, they captured their first Imperial scout ship. Instead of revealing themselves, they studied it in secret. They learned how our technology worked, and then developed completely different methods to defeat it. The council members watched in silence as Reed showed them the truth. Human ships appearing near Earth across centuries, carefully capturing Imperial scouts. Secret bases throughout their solar system, hidden by technology the Empire couldn't detect. A civilization that had deliberately appeared primitive while preparing for inevitable conflict. But why? First Speaker Wells asked. Why pretend to be primitive? Why wait so long? Because they wanted to be sure, Reed explained. They didn't want a battle. They didn't want a war. They wanted to be certain that when they finally revealed themselves, the Empire could never threaten them, or anyone else, ever again. As if to prove his point, new messages appeared across Imperial communications channels. The humans were broadcasting on all frequencies, reaching every world in the Empire at once. Their message was simple but powerful. For centuries, we watched the Empire conquer and enslave species across the galaxy. We saw how you ruled through fear and force. We could have revealed ourselves sooner, but we waited. We prepared. We developed technologies you couldn't understand or counter. Now you have a choice. You can continue fighting, and we will continue dismantling your empire piece by piece, or you can accept that your time of absolute rule is over. Leave us and our allies alone, or face extinction. This is not a negotiation. This is a warning. In the council chamber, the screens showed more Imperial worlds declaring independence. The humans had given them more than just protection. They had given them courage. Commander Reed looked at the council members, seeing the fear in their eyes. The humans didn't just build better weapons, he said quietly. They built hope. They showed the galaxy that the Empire isn't invincible. And now they're offering everyone a choice. Freedom or continued slavery. First Speaker Wells slumped in his chair, looking suddenly old. What can we do against such power? We can listen, Reed said. For the first time in 10,000 years, the Empire needs to listen. The Imperial High Council split into two groups 3 days after humanity's warning. Half the council members fled to distant worlds, taking what ships and weapons still worked. The other half stayed in the capital, finally ready to accept that the Empire's days of absolute power were over. Commander Reed stood at the window of his office, watching evacuation ships fill the sky. After 10,000 years, the Empire was falling apart. But unlike other fallen empires in history, this one wasn't ending in fire and destruction. It was ending with a choice. Sir, his assistant called from the door. The humans are broadcasting again. On every screen across the galaxy, Earth's message played. This time, they weren't just warning the Empire. They were speaking to everyone. To all species in the galaxy. The time of Imperial rule is ending. But this doesn't have to end in destruction. Every world now has a choice. You can join the new Galactic Alliance as equals, or you can remain independent. The age of empires is over. The age of cooperation begins. In the Imperial Palace, the remaining council members watched their powers slip away. Across the galaxy, more worlds declared their independence every hour. Some joined Earth's new alliance immediately. Others chose to stand alone, but none wanted to remain under Imperial control. "We should launch everything we have left at Earth," one of the hardline council members suggested. "Die fighting rather than surrender." But they couldn't. Human technology had spread too far. Their quantum-linked computer viruses had infected every Imperial weapon system. Their nanites had transformed Imperial factories. Even their secret bases were exposed by human scanning technology. In his office, Reed made the decision he had been considering for days. He gathered all his research, everything he had learned about humanity's centuries of preparation, and prepared to leave. "Where are you going?" First Speaker Wells asked, finding Reed packing his files. "To Earth," Reed replied. "They've offered amnesty to any Imperial citizens who want to help build something new. And I want to understand them better. How they think, how they managed to stay hidden for so long while growing so powerful." Wells looked defeated. "Was there ever any chance we could have won?" Reed shook his head. "They spent centuries preparing for every possibility. While we built bigger ships, they developed technology that could turn our own machines against us. While we conquered through fear, they built alliances through hope. They weren't just ready for war. They were ready to change the entire galaxy." Across Imperial space, the old order crumbled. But it wasn't the chaos many had feared. Human ships appeared wherever they were needed, protecting newly free worlds from any attempt at retaliation. Their advanced technology kept the peace while former Imperial worlds learned to govern themselves. A month after humanity's final warning, the remaining council members made their last official act. They sent a message to every corner of the galaxy. "Let it be known that the Imperial High Council hereby acknowledges the end of the Empire's rule. We warn all future civilizations, do not underestimate the humans. They are not what they appear to be. They have powers we cannot understand and technology we cannot counter. Most importantly, they have the one thing the Empire never had, the ability to offer hope instead of fear." Commander Reed's ship lifted off from the capital world, joining hundreds of others heading to Earth. As he watched the Imperial Palace disappear into the distance, he thought about what humans had achieved. They had defeated the greatest empire in history without destroying it. They had freed 1,000 worlds without causing a bloodbath. They had wielded unimaginable power with unprecedented restraint. The humans hadn't just changed the galaxy. They had changed the very nature of power itself. And as his ship prepared to jump to Earth, Reed wondered what other surprises humanity had in store for the galaxy. The age of empires was over. The age of humanity had begun.